This is ABC7 News at 7, your Suncoast News. We're here for you.
For every member who pledged the American people that they would deliver on their promise, this is really their chance. This is the repeal of Obamacare that Republicans have been working on for years, and voters have been waiting for this for some time.
Replace Obamacare by 2018 or lose your seat in Congress. President Trump is threatening fellow Republicans who are balking on the new GOP health care plan. If the American Care Act does become a reality next year, what could it mean for the millions of Floridians relying on the Affordable Care Act? Good evening, everyone. I'm Alan Cohen, and welcome to ABC 7 at 7. We'll have more on the potential impact of the American Care Act coming up, but first, our top 7 stories at 7. And we begin tonight in Venice, where nearly 4 acres of Shamrock Park have been destroyed by a brush fire. Today, helicopters were still dropping water on hot spots. The fire is now contained. However, firefighters are still on the scene to keep an eye on smoldering brush. This is all that remains of the section of Shamrock Park caught in the fire. The cause is still under investigation, but it's considered suspicious at this time. Fire officials suspect children may have started it. It is the second fire at the park in the last 2 weeks.
The way we put this fire out last night was we did a prescribed burn out here about 2 weeks ago, and last night's wildfire burned with the wind into that one. So once an area is burned, it's not going to burn again for a couple of years. 2 to 3 years at least. So that basically stopped the fire last night and kept it from advancing further to the south. So it made our job a lot easier.
No one was injured in the fire and no private property was damaged. Firefighters say they haven't seen any evidence of animal deaths either. A follow-up on the murder of a Palmetto woman. Friends and neighbors are holding a vigil for Patricia Freeman. Palmetto police believe a body found in Levy County yesterday is Freeman. 26-year-old Roy Nichols has confessed to killing her. Nichols is the boyfriend of Freeman's 21-year-old daughter, Kayla Coyler. Nichols says he killed Freeman last Tuesday during an argument and, along with Coyer, dumped Freeman's body and drove north. On Saturday, they were arrested in West Virginia. Nichols is charged with second-degree murder. Coyer is charged with an accessory after the fact.
You know, I mean, like I said, we're trying to get justice. We're out here doing what we can do right now for her, and that's all we can do. And the only thing we can do is just keep praying up, and that's it, you know.
Both Nichols and Coyer are expected to return to Manatee County to face charges later this week. A follow-up now on the Sarasota man accused of fracturing the skull of his girlfriend's 3-year-old daughter. Nicholas Ritter was back in court today for a hearing. He is charged with aggravated battery towards a child. Ritter was arrested last September after bringing the girl to Sarasota Memorial Hospital and telling staff she fell. Doctors found bruises on her back and chest and fractures on both sides of her skull and other injuries. His trial is scheduled to begin in August. An update on plans to build a 60,000-square-foot restaurant depot near the celery fields in Sarasota County. JMDH Real Estate is withdrawing its rezoning application. An attorney sent a letter informing the county commission of the decision. The request to rezone the site is now terminated, but the county says the project may not be completely off the table. There is opposition from protesters and nearby residents. Now to another land battle in Sarasota County. Tomorrow, county commissioners will decide whether or not to approve the rezoning of 77 acres, including wetlands. The site is along the 17th Street near the Meadows project. The project is broken down into 3 sections. 3 of them are for what the Meadows community is calling Renaissance, a plan to build a new country club and 180 units. The other 13 is for an expansion of the Aviva Senior Life Center facility, while Aviva plans to do wetland mitigation nearby. Some say approving this would be another example of local government paving over paradise.
This is being done against the objection not just of environmentalists, but of the environmentalists on the county's own staff. It violates the comprehensive plan, but these county commissioners seem like they'll just do anything for the developers.
I think that sometimes you need to look at a project more from a social benefit and a community benefit.
A public hearing will be held on the proposal tomorrow at 1:30. It will be in the County Commission chambers. In just the past week, 2 toddlers have nearly drowned on the Suncoast. According to the Centers for Disease Control, nationwide 10 people drown each day. Children under 14 account for 1 in 5 of those deaths. In fact, drowning is the 5th leading cause of accidental deaths in the U.S. Officers recommend teaching children to swim as early as possible. Moat marine scientists are once again swimming with the sharks, so to speak. An expedition team is returning from the waters off of Hilton Head Island, where they spent 3 weeks tagging great white sharks. Scientists work with the O-Search research group. They were able to tag one adult male and a juvenile female. Researchers say the new tags will help them learn about the sharks' life cycles, including where they mate, give birth, and other habits such as their viewing habits, what favorite music they like, and movies. Time for weather. Let's go out to meteorologist Josh Stone. Josh.
All right, yeah, a beautiful day in our forecast today with lots of sunshine. We actually topped out at 72 degrees. Our average for this time of the year is 77, but you can see temperatures a little bit cooler now, especially along the coast. 67 in Sarasota, 70 in Venice, 69 in Inglewood. You go inland, it's still in the upper 70s in Wauchula, 78 degrees there, 79 in Lake Placid, 79 in Sebring. We have a lot of dry air on top of us, and this has been bringing the sunshine. We have area of high pressure, very strong, sinking, compressing air, clearing out any sort of moisture that's been trying to develop. There were a few passing clouds today, but all in all, we had an abundant amount of sunshine, blue sky out there, and that's why our radar remains quiet. As far as the overnight goes, mostly clear skies. Temperatures will be a little bit warmer tonight than they were yesterday morning. They were in the lower 50s, or should I say earlier this morning, they were in the lower 50s, but for the overnight into tomorrow morning, our temperatures will be in the upper 50s, and we could actually see some developing patchy fog.
Josh, you didn't get my joke before, but that's okay. I'll fill you in later.
Fill me in
Still to come, Trump Care, Ryan Care, no, just call it the American Care Act. No one is putting their name on it, but Republicans say the time has come to repeal and replace the Affordable Care Act. Find out how it could affect the Suncoast when we return.
The official Suncoast Storm team at ABC7. We're here for you. Hey, Tampa Bay, join us for the premiere of a new St. Petersburg tradition. The St. Petersburg Seafood and Music Festival, happening Saturday and Sunday, March 25th and 26th from 10 to 6 p.m. at Northstraw Park. Savor mouth-watering Florida Gulf Coast seafood dishes by top restaurants and chefs, while you enjoy great live music from some of Florida's top musical groups. So grab your family and friends for the St. Petersburg Seafood and Music Festival, March 25th and 26th. For more information, visit seafoodfestivals.com.
If you've ever had a bad night's sleep, call and price the new Craftmatic Legacy. It has so much more than other adjustables and still costs up to 50% less, featuring a rising adjustable pillow rest to support your head, neck, and shoulders, bedside power plugs, under-bed night lights, and more. So call and price one today for less, up to 50% less than Tempur-Pedic, Sleep Number, and other adjustables.
You get so much more and it still costs less. You've got to see how little they cost.
Call 1-800-774-8103. That's 1-800-774-8103. Call now.
Attention, this is an important message for anyone who has taken Xarelto or Pradaxa. If you or a loved one took the blood thinner medication Xarelto or Pradaxa and was then hospitalized for internal bleeding, you may be entitled to significant compensation. Xarelto and Pradaxa have been linked to serious, even fatal internal bleeding. If you suffered a stroke, heart attack, or serious internal bleeding, or if a loved one died after taking Xarelto or Pradaxa, call us now. Our network of attorneys have years of experience fighting the big pharmaceutical companies and is ready to fight for you. Potential claims are being reviewed for users of Xarelto or Pradaxa who have suffered severe bleeding or hemorrhaging, stroke, or even death. Our network of experienced attorneys is ready to fight for you. You won't pay a thing unless your case is settled. Call today for a free confidential consultation. Don't fight this alone.
Please call 800-928-6604. That is 800-928-6604.
Luxury for less at Alex Karras Lincoln. Drive a brand new 2017 Lincoln MKZ Sports Utility for $249 per month or a 2017 MKZ for $299 per month. We are proud to introduce the newest addition to the Lincoln lineup, the all-new 2017 Lincoln Continental. We have a great selection and ready for immediate delivery. Alex Karras Lincoln, affordable luxury, winner of the prestigious 2015 President's Award, serving Florida's Suncoast since 1978. We're located 2 miles north of the Sarasota-Bradenton Airport on US 41.
President Trump today did some good old-fashioned arm twisting on Capitol Hill. The House votes Thursday on the Republican proposed health care overhaul. Changes were announced Monday after a report from the Congressional Budget Office estimated 24 million Americans could lose coverage. ABC7's Dwayne Lindo joins us with more on how the American Care Act could impact you. Dwayne.
Well, Alan, the GOP continuing to make modifications, but according to some of these changes, may do more harm than good. Not only that, but the plan may also hurt the pockets of people over 60 as well.
It's been 7 years since President Obama signed the Affordable Care Act. Now, with much criticism, enter the GOP's American Health Care Act, a plan that New College of Florida political professor Keith Fitzgerald says was put together in a rush.
And they voted to repeal it over 50 times, and they've had that entire time to be working through the details of an alternative. But when they came in here with majorities in both houses and the presidency, they essentially started from scratch.
The Republican health care plan would kill some of the current law, including tax penalties for people who don't buy insurance and Medicaid expansion. But according to Fitzgerald, those on the Affordable Care Act will lose big on this one, if it passes.
There will be literally millions of people who will lose their health insurance, and they don't have a plausible way of making sure that all of those people will be in better shape afterwards.
But the new plan did keep popular pieces of the current act intact. One includes allowing adult dependents to stay on their parents' health plans until age 26. The other has the Affordable Care Act's essential health benefits, which requires insurance plans to cover preventative care, maternity, and mental health coverage. And with the House Republican vote set for this week, the clock is ticking.
It's enormously complex, and so I would look at this as an opening bid, not as a final product.
Congressman Vern Buchanan admits there's more that needs to be done. Just recently, he held a town hall meeting right here at the Van Wezel to address some of those concerns.
We're in the very early stages of the legislative process. Next week,
the crowd clearly upset about the process that may affect millions, but Buchanan stressing he's making sure Florida is treated fairly when it comes to this plan.
The biggest thing was health care, and I was trying to explain to them that we're in a, out of 9 innings in a ball, baseball, we're in the 3rd inning. I am pushing for anybody 50 to 65 to make sure they get the same consideration or close to the same consideration as the ACA or Obamacare.
But according to Trump's new plan, premiums could be raised for older people. The bill allows insurers to charge more as people age and become more susceptible to health problems. But according to Fitzgerald, there are more questions than answers, which leads him to believe we may be under Obama's current plan for some time to come.
I think that there is a decent chance that this is not going to pass because they don't have a winning coalition yet. So we may not even get to the end zone this year.
The president obviously meeting with Republican leaders in Congress today, urging his critics to vote for this bill.
Dwayne, thank you. In a moment, we return with talking about health care from the medical and the political perspective. In a moment, we take it, yes, to the trapezoid.
Is your old garage door stuck or broken? Would a new one give you a lift? Let Precision Door Overhead Garage Door Service of Sarasota come to the rescue with prompt and affordable repair service. Replacement doors come with an array of styles and colors, and they are rated to meet and exceed Florida standards. From estimates to installation, your satisfaction is our priority. If you're not 100% satisfied with any product, service, or installation, we will make it right, because Precision Door Service is a name you can trust.
Are you paying too much for your cable or satellite TV? The U.S. government passed a bill mandating free over-the-air digital transmission of all broadcast network television channels. That means with the new TV Freeway digital antenna, you can get free HD programming from your favorite broadcast networks 24/7 without a bill. You just plug it into the back of your TV and start watching all of your favorite broadcast programs for free. There are no contracts to sign, no hidden fees, and no monthly fees. Just free HD broadcast TV. Take it with you anywhere. Call or go online now to get your TV Freeway stick for the incredibly low price of only $14.99. But wait, call or click now and you can get a second TV Freeway stick for a second TV. Just pay a separate fee, but you have to order right now.
Call 1-800-809-5196 to get your TV Freeway. Call now or go to tvfreeway.com. So call 1-800-809-5196. This offer's not in any store. Call now.
Welcome back. Be careful what you wish for. For nearly 8 years, it has been a battle cry for many Republicans in Congress. Repeal Obamacare. Today, it has been an exercise in futility, but there is a new president just down the street at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, and this one is eager to sign the bill that repeals the Affordable Health Care Act and replace it. But according to the Congressional Budget Office, up to 24 million Americans could lose their health insurance under the GOP plan by 2018. It would also cut Medicaid. The American Care Act gets rid of subsidies based on income to buy insurance and replaces them with tax credits. It also repeals the mandate requiring individuals to buy insurance and employers to offer it. Joining us right now for more is Susan Nylon, CEO of Nylon & Associates, and Dr. Michael Petit, president of the Florida Medical Association's Political Action Committee. He is also a delegate to the American Medical Association in 2015. Thank you both for joining us. Doctor, you are a Republican.
Yes.
So if you were a Republican member of Congress, would you be voting for this plan?
As I look at it, I could tell you, the first thing I want to make sure everybody understands, okay, is that the Florida Medical Association is taking no stance on this particular issue. Okay, we're watching the process and we're going to continue to monitor it. That's the first thing I would say. Second thing is after analyzing this bill and seeing what it actually does, I would be part of the Freedom Caucus and saying I would not be voting for this bill.
So your position would be that the bill does not go far enough in terms of repealing Obamacare and replacing it. Specifically, do you have more of a problem that it does not fully repeal Obamacare, or it does not replace it adequately?
It's not replacing it adequately, and it's really not repealing some of the burdensome regulations that are placed on the actual practitioners that actually have to deliver care to the people. These burdensome regulations, everybody's been in a doctor's office, and the doctor has their back to the patient because they have to be on a computer the whole time, you know, documenting things that need to be documented because of the actual regulations that we have to have in effect with our reporting requirements.
Susan, I don't think anybody disagrees with that.
Sure, I can't argue that.
The regulatory part of it is burdensome. That's part of the problem. But for Democrats like yourself, the problem with this plan is that it takes away potentially 24 million Americans, including a lot of Floridians, from health care.
Yeah, it's a really, really scary prospect because for the first time in a lot of people's lives, they actually have access to health care that they've never had before, which means they also have access to service, which they've never been able to afford before. And to think that that could be taken away just because the Republicans want to do away with it, it's a really hard pill to swallow.
So Doctor, when you hear 24 million Americans, including, you know, many people in Florida, I would presume some of your patients, potentially losing their health care coverage, is that part of your calculation in terms of you know, what you object to? Because after all, during the campaign, President Trump said no one would be losing their coverage.
Yeah, I agree. One of the things that I, can tell you is that having an insurance card in your hand doesn't mean you have coverage. Because in the state of Florida, if you have Medicaid, there are a lot of physicians that do not take it because we do not get adequately reimbursed to take care of these patients at the costs that would be effective for the providers. The hospitals like Medicaid because they actually don't have patients now coming in with no insurance, and they get actual, coverage, developed to them. But not every physician takes care of this. In fact, the pediatricians successfully had to file a complaint against Medicaid because there were no specialists to see their patients.
But aren't those problems something that could be fixed with the current Affordable Care Act rather than just throwing the baby out with the bathwater, as they say?
Well, there's a lot of things in the current Affordable Care Act that we don't like at all. And again, like I said, if you have all those regulations in there, which thank goodness we have Tom Price in with the HHS Secretary to look at these regulations and see if we can get any relief from them.
I don't necessarily think, though, the regulations have really anything to do with whether it's the Affordable Care Act or the American Health Care Act. I mean, there's just regulations in the industry, and one conversation should have nothing to do with the other. Don't you agree?
Well, it's all in the 2,000 pages of Obamacare. So, when you look at the 2,000 pages of Obamacare, and when I read this for the very first time, as a physician, my gut was churning. Okay, because of the regulations that are in there and what they're trying to make us do. And when it got passed, we're actually now under that burden.
But when we were talking before we went on the air, part of the issue you also have is something that is in this bill, which is that old Americans would wind up paying more for their health care coverage under this
new bill.
Your segment in the very beginning is accurate, and that's one of the reasons why I was telling you that if I were part of the Republican, House party, I would not be in favor of this.
All right. When we get to our next segment, I want to ask you what you would do. Susan, put your political hat on for just a moment, because, despite oppositions of the Freedom Caucus and many conservatives, if this president loses this vote now, it would be difficult. We're running out of time, but what do you think of that?
Oh, I absolutely agree. It's going to be extremely difficult, and I don't have the confidence that he actually will get this vote. There's too many people that he needs to count on that are in opposition to this.
We are just getting started with our discussion. It continues right after a check on the weather, so stay with us.
You only have one life. Are you gambling with it? 1 in 3 adults have high blood pressure. Not knowing your numbers could cause you to lose, big time. Luckily, you can turn the odds in your favor by getting your blood pressure checked today. Don't leave your health to chance. Learn more at heart.org/HPB.
It's the season of savings right now during the spring clearance event at Sunset Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram in Sarasota. Come shop the Suncoast's largest selection of new Jeep Wranglers, or stop by today and drive away in a 2017 Jeep Cherokee for just $18,999. And for a limited time, get America's best value, a new Dodge Journey for as little as $16,599. Better prices, bigger selection. Go to Sunset Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram in Sarasota.
Credit card debt can ruin your life. If you owe $10,000 and minimum payments are siphoning away your paycheck each month, you can get debt-free in less time than you think.
I've paid $800 a month for the past 3 years and haven't changed the balance on my credit card.
Get debt-free now has a program to reduce your debt, stop the harassing phone calls, avoid financial ruin, and settle for less than you owe.
I feel like a huge weight has been lifted off my shoulders.
You're pre-approved for our special hardship program if you owe $10,000 or more. Upon payment of your new lower balance, your debt will finally shrink until you are debt-free.
My family no longer has 30 years of payments ahead of us at 20% interest.
There's no fees until you see results. So call now, make one monthly program payment, and free up your cash. Resolve your debt.
Call 800-685-6422, 800-685-6422.
Florida Studio Theater presents Piano Men, held over by popular demand through April 2nd. Attributing the virtuosity and elegance of the Piano Man, Piano Men features the works of 20th century's best pianists and songwriters. Featuring songs from music icons such as Billy Joel, Stevie Wonder, and Barry Manilow, don't miss what critics are saying is energetic, with fun and playful performances that evokes hits of an era. Piano Men is held over by popular demand. Tickets can be purchased by calling 941-366-9000 or by visiting floridastudiotheater.org.
Our discussion continues in a moment, but right now let's get a check on our weather from meteorologist Josh Stone. Josh.
All right, Alan, thanks so much. 67 degrees outside with clear skies, so we're going to have a beautiful sunset for this evening. Humidity at 87%, dew point at 63, and as these temperatures cool down close to the dew point in the overnight hours, we could have some patchy fog that develops. Our high today topped out at 72 degrees, still below the average of 77. Some areas actually cracked the 80-degree mark, but that was well inland today. Now, we really need some rain. We're approaching that 5-inch mark as far as the deficit goes. Looks like some rain could come our way on Thursday, and we'll talk about that in just a second. Clear and cool conditions tonight, and watch out for the patchy fog in the early morning hours. Sunny and dry again tomorrow, thanks to high pressure that's in control of our weather. And then a system could come in here to potentially bring us some rain, but it's only a 20 to 30% chance, and most of that rain activity will probably be inland. Some rain definitely happening well to our north here around the Atlanta area and Tennessee with a storm system up here, but that's not going to affect us. Our radar remains very quiet, nothing to show you here. So let's focus in on this storm that's up to the north, tracking through the Tennessee area into northern Georgia. They have a severe thunderstorm watch out until 11 p.m. tonight. Kind of a nasty looking line of storms, but it's kind of fragmented, so it doesn't look like it's very organized. The same front that's causing the storms up to the north comes our way on Thursday, brings us some cloud cover. The question is, will the dynamics be there for showers to develop in our area? Don't really think so. One forecasting model has about a 30 to 40% chance of showers here along the Sun Coast, but our in-house model shows nothing. So we'll just have to watch this as this develops. 58 for the overnight low. Watch out once again for the patchy fog. Our high tomorrow tops out at 74. Remember, the average is 77. Some areas, though, will be warmer than that as you go inland. So there's the potential rain on Thursday. Winds will kick up Thursday night into Friday. And the weekend looks beautiful if you like the sunshine. And then the next chance for rain, though it's not much, comes our way next Tuesday. But still looking like, all in all, a very nice and mild forecast. All right, stay with us. Alan will be right back.
Hey, Tampa Bay, join us for the premiere of a new St. Petersburg tradition, the St. Petersburg Seafood and Music Festival, happening Saturday and Sunday, March 25th and 26th from 10 to 6 p.m. at Northstrop Park. Savor mouth-watering Florida Gulf Coast seafood dishes by top restaurants and chefs while you enjoy great live music from some of Florida's top musical groups. So grab your family and friends for the St. Petersburg Seafood and Music Festival, March 25th and 26th. For more information, visit seafoodfestivals.com.
Is your mop a dirty, disgusting mess? You need the Hurricane 360 Spin Mop System, the only mop and bucket that spins the dirt away. A system that cleans practically anything and everything with super absorbent microfiber. Dip it in the washer side and the mess releases into the bucket. Then place it in the dryer side and push on a pedal. You get a clean mop head that's practically dry and ready for more. And your hands will never again touch a dirty, disgusting mop. The heads are washable and reusable. Get the Hurricane 360 Spin Mop System for just 2 payments of $19.99. You'll also get a Sticky Buddy, the reusable sticky roller that picks up pet hair and lint and washes clean in seconds. You can take advantage of our 2-for-1 Pick It Up special and get a second spin mop set. Just pay additional shipping and fee. And we'll upgrade you to free priority handling. So don't wait. Order now.
Call 1-800-394-1524 to get your Hurricane Spin Mop double offer. So hurry and call 1-800-394-1524. Call now.
I'm calling in regards about my mother, and I'm here, and I just want to thank you because it saved my mother's life yesterday. And I'd like to know the names of the people that came in and saved her so I could call and thank them. And she's doing fine. It's a wonderful thing. Thank you.
When you fall and cannot get up, an accident can turn into a tragedy. But with Life Alert, one touch of a button can get you help fast. Life Alert saves a person from a catastrophe every 10 minutes.
Life Alert is a lifesaver. If it weren't for Life Alert, I wouldn't be sitting here today.
For a free Life Alert brochure, call 1-800-962-4112. That's 1-800-962-4112. Call now, 1-800-962-4112. For a free brochure, call 1-800-962-4112.
Welcome back. If you're just joining us, we are discussing the GOP plan to repeal and replace Obamacare. Our guests tonight are Susan Nylon of Nylon and Associates and Dr. Michael Petit of the Florida Medical Association. Thank you again for joining us. So, Doctor, you said you're more in line with the Freedom Caucus, which is the most conservative members of the Republican caucus in Congress. So, if you're not down with this plan, what would you do?
It's really good questions as to what anybody would do for this. And as I was telling you, I mean, they had 8 years. You guys had that absolutely right. They had 8 years to come up with a replacement plan. And I think that Keith Fitzgerald probably has it right, when he says that this was hastily put together. Anybody in any think tank that you're listening to and discussing this with has said that this is not a good idea.
Well, two questions. Number one, what many Democrats and supporters of the Affordable Health Care Act say about the Republican plan is if you are keeping the provisions of Obamacare where you cover pre-existing conditions and you're allowing children up to the age of 26 to stay on their parents' plan, but you are taking away the mandate to buy insurance and to offer insurance and many of the taxes, the math doesn't add up there.
Not at all.
I gotta say though, I want to ask why people think there's not a mandate, because they're not calling it a mandate, but there's a penalty if you don't cover insurance. If you don't have insurance for every year. I think it's 30% surcharge that they're going to charge you if you have a lapse in coverage. So I don't understand how that is not a mandate. It's just they're just calling it a different name, but it still has the same impact.
So what do members of Congress like Vern Buchanan do? I mean, he was there last weekend. There were thousands of people there. He was saying he's going to do his level best to prevent older Americans from not losing their health care insurance. Other Republican members of Congress have had similar town hall meetings up at Pinellas. Gus Bilirakis, for hours, he listened to people over multiple days, and then he just announced today he's going to vote for the president's plan. What do you do?
Well, it's deja vu all over again. I mean, this is similar to what happened when they passed the Affordable Care Act. Where people are discussing, what they don't like, and then all of a sudden, hey, you know what, I'm voting for it. So that's, essentially what some people were calling walking the plank, if it turns out bad.
So Susan, where does this go? Because a lot of people have said that nothing is going to pass that will actually work unless Democrats participate in the process, and the likeliness of that right now is pretty close to zero.
I don't understand how they think that if the Democrats participated in the process that it would make a difference, because I just don't think there's that opportunity. I don't think there's anything that, if you're a Democrat and they invite you just because you're a Democrat, I don't think they can actually fix it that way. My concern is if it does pass just solely on party line, but it passes, it's going to take quite some time to implement. You can't just rip the Band-Aid off and start over. And the difference between now and the way it was in 2009, 2010 is, whereas before people didn't have insurance, it was the hope of getting it. Now they have it and you're going to take that away. It's not going to be kindly received, especially by those parents who have ailing kids or anyone who needs long-term care, et cetera, et cetera. It's not going to be the same. It's going to be worse.
So Doctor, what do Republicans do if they have the concerns that you are sharing with us tonight, but knowing that if this does go through and there are people who lose their coverage or face problems because of it, it could potentially cost the Republicans their majority in Congress? Well,
you got to remember, Vern did actually mention it. This is the third inning of a 9-inning, game. If it passes the House, it doesn't mean it's going to pass the Senate. I mean, Ted Cruz has said that the bill the way it is right now, if it passes the House, it will not get through the Senate.
Same thing with Rand Paul.
So therefore, before it has to get up to the president's desk, it's got to get through both houses.
Right. But that brings us back to the point that I was trying to make a little while ago. One of the knocks against the Affordable Care Act or Obamacare is it passed on a strictly party line vote. So when there were problems that became obvious, there was no reason for Republicans to assist in fixing it. if this or a Republican bill passes on a strictly Republican party line vote, there's not going to be, any reason for Democrats to try to come together and try to fix this and make it work.
I would happen to agree with you. That is correct, because why would you?
So how does this great problem, which the president recently said is pretty complicated, get fixed?
We were discussing, part of the medical industrial, complex earlier, and, there's a lot of people that have their hands in the cookie jar, when it comes to being paid.
Right. And I should tell you what we were talking about. My son recently had to go to the hospital. He got sick, had to stay over a night, just IV fluids, some tests and so forth. I got a bill for $250, but the bill was $14,000.
Yep.
And I appreciate the IVs and all the doctors and nurses, but what made up that $14,000, and isn't that inherently part of the problem?
Well, transparency is not there. We're not really competing in an open market. And when they discuss various different things and competing in an open market, they discuss it, free and willingly. But yet, when they implement various different laws, it's not what's actually there.
I was looking at some of the details of this proposal, and one of the things that I don't think anybody who's watching this tonight could be happy about is that, not only are older people going to have less coverage, but there are these things about tax breaks for healthcare executives making over $500,000 a year. The bill would cut some taxes for the elderly, a 3.8% tax on investment income. And not only that, it eliminates federal funding for Planned Parenthood. So there's a lot of things mixed in there, which is not what the people who are watching this tonight were hoping for when they cheered for the repeal of Obamacare.
I would happen to agree. And we talked about that when the president actually campaigned. He said repeal and replace.
I want to ask, though, because the difference between the two plans is clear. The new plan, the Republican plan, is giving you a tax credit after the fact. You still have to put the money up every month to pay those bills, which without a subsidy for a lot of people, in fact, I think it's 65% of the people that are on it, can't afford it. So they won't be able to afford to purchase the health care. And if you're not making that much money, nobody cares about a tax credit because they're not making enough to get a tax out, pay taxes.
Let's take a quick break, and when we return, we'll have final thoughts from our guests, so stay with us.
This March, Florida Studio Theater is presenting the play Brownsville's Song, and our city will begin discussions
on race,
on equality and civil rights,
the most important conversation of our time. Will you join us?
The official Suncoast Storm team at ABC7. We're here for you.
Are you Goodwill?
Yes, because when I donate
or shop at Goodwill,
I am creating a job.
I am Goodwill, yeah.
I met a girl, she made me smile, she made me wait. She crossed the street, she crossed my heart, she fixed her dress, she bit her lip.
Hi, I'm Joan London, and if you're worried about your parent or a loved one living alone like I was, and you want reliable senior care information, then call A Place for Mom, the nation's largest senior living referral service. You'll get free information on assisted living, Alzheimer's care, nursing homes, even important financial information.
They had obviously researched every place, not just given me names. Really? They found me a place for what she could afford, and it was magnificent.
We're now very confident that she's safe, and they just helped every step of the way, and I can't thank them enough.
So if you're struggling to find reliable senior living information, call A Place for Mom. This is a free service, and you can trust them to help you.
Call right now to get your free Senior Care Compass ebook. Find out about the 5 best-kept secrets on financing senior care and assisted living.
Call now, 800-290-0352. 800-290-0352.
Car experts and customers agree. There's a whole lot to love about a new Subaru. Subaru was named the 2016 Best Overall Brand, Most Trusted, and Best Performance Brand by Kelley Blue Book. And ALG named Subaru its top mainstream brand for residual value for 2016. Now you can lease a new Subaru Outback for just $229 a month or get 0% financing during the Subaru A Lot to Love event. Get more for your money. Go to Sunset Subaru in Sarasota.
Welcome back. How would the repeal of Obamacare and signing of the American Care Act affect the coverage of Floridians? Our guests join us right now for final thoughts. So, Doctor, you are for the repeal of Obamacare. You are not for the current Republican bill. So if you repealed Obamacare, what comes next? Well,
it would have to follow a process. I think that the process that was followed back in 2009, 2010 was purely on party lines. When we looked at healthcare reform in the state of Florida, when we were looking at that, we wanted every party, in a room to discuss the issue and get thoughts from everybody, and then come up with various different points to be able to make in order to come out with something that would be acceptable to everybody in the state of Florida, so that the doctors can actually practice, that the patients can actually get care, and that they have coverage to, get to where they need to be.
Boy, after all this time, it seems like we're light years away from that happening. Mm-hmm. Susan, what do Democrats want right now? Because the Affordable Health Care Act today is law, but it is, there are so many problems with it. That's why there are so many people who want to repeal it.
Well, I wouldn't say so many people want to repeal it, because there's 24 million people who don't want to repeal it. I think if the Republicans wanted to be the hero, they would take what we have and fix it.
That's not going to happen.
And improve it. I get it. But I don't think the Democrats in the House or the Senate are going to make a difference either. I think it's really going to happen on the streets. I think it's the individual person who has to go to their representative or their senator and say, this is not acceptable.
But let me push back on that, because as we said, we had all these town halls. Mm-hmm. I'm talking about Gus Bilirakis in Pinellas.
Yeah.
He said, I'm going to listen to exactly what you're saying.
But he's still going to vote for it.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Well, you know what? He's going to have to deal with the fallout from doing that. I don't think that they could actually implement what they're going to do. I don't think they'll be able to actually take away what they say they're going to.
And Doctor, if the president is saying to his fellow Republicans, if you're not with me, you're going to lose your seat in Congress, where do you think that's going to play out?
It's a good question. I mean, if this is truly what you're going to be seeing, these 24 million people out of, insurances, mm-hmm. You're going to see a lot of angry people out there. And then, with a lot of angry people out there, it puts a voice to, and a fire under people to want to go vote. So it's very possible that they, will lose their seat in Congress if it does pass.
Okay. Thank you to our guests for being here tonight. Susan Nylon is CEO of Nylon & Associates, and Dr. Michael Petit is the president of the Florida Medical Association's Political Action Committee. When we return, a surge in the stock market is causing companies to buy their own stock back. We'll break down what it means with ABC7's business commentator. Plus, a little unusual, that is what the Florida judge overseeing Markeith Lloyd's trial is saying about the feud between a state attorney and Governor Rick Scott. We'll have the details in our prime time headlines.
Credit card debt can ruin your life. If you owe $10,000 and minimum payments are siphoning away your paycheck each month, you can get debt-free in less time than you think.
I've paid $800 a month for the past 3 years and haven't changed the balance on my credit card.
Get debt-free now has a program to reduce your debt, stop the harassing phone calls, avoid financial ruin, and settle for less than you owe.
I feel like a huge weight has been lifted off my shoulders.
You're pre-approved for our special hardship program if you owe $10,000 or more. Upon payment of your new lower balance, your debt will finally shrink until you are debt-free.
My family no longer has 30 years of payments ahead of us at 20% interest.
There's no fees until you see results. So call now, make one monthly program payment, and free up your cash. Resolve your debt.
Call 800-628-1251, 800-628-1251.
Hey, Hey, Tampa Bay, join us for the premiere of a new St. Petersburg tradition, the St. Petersburg Seafood and Music Festival, happening Saturday and Sunday, March 25th and 26th from 10 to 6 p.m. at Northstrop Park. Savor mouth-watering Florida Gulf Coast seafood dishes by top restaurants and chefs while you enjoy great live music from some of Florida's top musical groups. So grab your family and friends for the St. Petersburg Seafood and Music Festival, March 25th and 26th. For more information, visit seafoodfestivals.com.
They're coming from Tampa, Fort Myers, even Orlando. They're coming from everywhere for the Sarasota Ford Promise. Our promise means a new car you'll love. If not, return it for one you do. At Sarasota Ford, we promise live market pricing. We monitor national pricing on our entire inventory, so you get the best deal. In fact, we guarantee it. Bring us any competitor's ad, and we'll beat it by at least $1,000. That's why they're coming from everywhere to Sarasota Ford, where 41 meets 301. SarasotaFord.com.
Welcome back. The market is going strong 2 months into the new administration, but now there is a new trend. Companies are buying back their own stock. What does it mean for investors? Here to help us break it down is ABC7 business commentator Richard Stern. It's good news for investors, Richard, but I remember you doing a story about a number of these companies buying back stock, and the thought crossed my mind. We talk about how middle-income wages have been flat for decades now. Why not invest in employees and help get those middle incomes up, and that would be good for the economy?
No question about it. I think the guilty parties, if you will, are the boards of directors of these companies, because their mandate is to tell the CEO, this is how much money we have in capital, this is how we're going to employ this capital, and we need to get this money to the bottom line, because the goal is to return as much as possible to the shareholders in terms of dividend, and also in terms of what we call total return, which means the stock price goes up. And if companies buy back their own stock, and remember, interest rates are still incredibly low, even though they've just gone up. If companies buy back their own stock, there are fewer shares outstanding. And if there are fewer shares outstanding and the company is making the same amount of money, the earnings per share go up, and that's what drives the price of the stock.
But we have talked about an economic recovery, and there has been, but it has been slow and it's been lagging, and a lot of people have been left behind. Companies don't feel like they have any obligation to their workforce in terms of lifting all boats in terms of getting middle-income salaries up.
Sadly, you're absolutely right. I'd love to find a reason to disagree, but guilty as charged, because corporate America doesn't see it quite that way. Corporate America says that we're here to make a profit. Now, I will say that there are companies, just today, Apple announced that they're coming out with a new iPhone 7, iPhone 7 Plus, and the proceeds are going to go to AIDS in Africa. And they've given $135 million to that program up until this point. I can tell you that the firm that I work for, Robert W. Baird, has a very aggressive program that if I give $100 to a charity, they'll give $50 to a charity. And I can do that up to $1,000, and they'll match me 50 cents on the dollar. They're promoting that we do what we can to help our communities.
And Apple stock is up something like 25%?
It's up 20% this year, and intraday today sit at an all-time high over $140.
But there are still issues with Apple in terms of where some of its parts are manufactured, the glass in China, and I know that is also a bone of contention because we are in a difficult spot in terms of the trade deficit with China.
There's no question, and I don't know how that's going to get resolved. We talk about trade wars. Will there be a trade war? More and more companies, of course, are going to the White House, and they're getting a little bit of pressure to make sure they keep as many jobs in the U.S. as possible. But it's still a question of profitability. I hate to keep coming back to that word profit. But the bottom line is, where can we do it cheaper? Where can we do it better? And I'd love to tell you that they say our mandate is that every one of our employees is going to get at least $20 an hour, but that doesn't happen.
Okay, Richard, thank you very much. Richard Stern is business commentator for ABC7 News. He joins us twice a month to look at the market. Your primetime headlines are coming up right after this break.
Is debt beating you down? You need discipline. You need The Debt Ninja. If you owe $10,000 or more to the IRS, you could be facing wage garnishments, levies, liens, property seizure, cancellation of business license, closure of business. The Debt Ninja fights your IRS debt. That's why you need the Debt Ninja. The Debt Ninja has found the best companies in the country who are on your side to fight debt. Want to learn if you qualify for the IRS Financial Hardship Program? Stop the IRS from garnishing your wages. Even if your bank account has been seized, if you have undeclared taxes, if you have existing IRS debt, it's not too late to call, so grab your phone now. Call the Debt Ninja at 800-945-0083. That's 800-945-0083. Settle your IRS debt to get the power of the Debt Ninja. Dial this number now, 800-945-0083.
For years, I told everyone my Craftmatic adjustable bed was the greatest until I got the new Craftmatic Legacy. It has an adjustable pillow feature that's awesome. You're gonna want one too when you see how little they cost.
If you've ever had a bad night's sleep, call and price the new Craftmatic Legacy. It has so much more than other adjustables and still costs up to 50% less. Featuring a rising adjustable pillow rest, bedside power plugs, underbed night lights, and more. Available in all mattress types with optional heat and soothing massage for as much as half the price of Tempur-Pedic, Sleep Number, and other adjustables. Enjoy temporary relief of low back pain, nighttime heartburn, mild arthritis. Adjust the rising pillow feature to help align your head, neck, and shoulders. See for yourself with our 30-day in-home trial. So call and price one today for less, up to 50% less.
You get so much more and it still costs less. You gotta see how little they cost.
Call 1-800-237-0214. That's 1-800-237-0214. Call 1-800-237-0214. Call now.
Florida Studio Theater presents Piano Men, held over by popular demand through April 2nd. Attributing the virtuosity and elegance of the Piano Man, Piano Men features the works of 20th century's best pianists and songwriters. Featuring songs from music icons such as Billy Joel, Stevie Wonder, and Barry Manilow, don't miss what critics are saying is energetic, with fun and playful performances that evokes hits of an era. Piano Men is held over by popular demand. Tickets can be purchased by calling 941-366-9000 or by visiting floridastudiotheater.org.
Now for your primetime headlines, President Trump was on Capitol Hill today working to close the deal on the GOP's health care plan. He did not comment on the FBI's bombshell revelation. It is investigating the Trump campaign's alleged contact with Russia. ABC's Kenneth Moten has the latest from Washington.
President, is it Trump care or Ryan care? President Trump on the move at the Capitol. Back in the Oval, focus on the business of the day.
To imagine distant worlds.
But the president still not commenting on the FBI's investigation into his campaign's alleged contact with Russia as the Kremlin meddled in the 2016 election.
I cannot say more about what we are doing and whose conduct we are examining.
The White House still on defense on allegations of possible collusion with Russia.
This continued narrative that falsely tries to link the president or the White House into any of it. They continue to see that there is nothing there.
The FBI won't say who is under investigation, but the White House has tried to diminish the role of one person mentioned by the House Intelligence Committee, campaign chair Paul Manafort, who was fired over the summer. Manafort has repeatedly denied any connection to Russia. House Speaker Paul Ryan promising thorough investigations, but so far,
no evidence that Donald Trump or his staff were involved in this with the Russians. I don't think we learned anything new yesterday with Comey's testimony.
But the American people did, as Comey also refuted Trump's unsubstantiated wiretapping claims against President Obama.
My view is very simple, and that is that there is a cloud now hanging over the head of the president.
The president's credibility is also hanging in the balance. Today, the White House once again deflected when asked for evidence to back up Trump's wiretapping claims. Kenneth Moten, ABC News, Washington.
Meanwhile, Trump's Supreme Court nominee Neil Gorsuch is back in the hot seat for day 2 of Senate hearings. Judge Gorsuch remaining calm throughout the process. As Democrats grilled him about prior statements about his judicial record, Gorsuch has a right-of-center track record, and in regard to Trump, he says no one is above the law.
We're all just people at the end of the day. And that equal justice promise, the equal protection under law, is the most radical guarantee I'm aware of in the history of human law.
Republicans remain fairly optimistic about their chances of getting Gorsuch through, but Democrats are feeling intense pressure from the left-leaning organizations to filibuster and block the nomination after Republicans refused to even hear from Obama's nominee. Anyone flying to the United States on certain airlines from countries in the Middle East and Africa will no longer be allowed to carry on some larger electronic devices. Passengers from 8 countries, including U.S. allies Jordan, Egypt, Saudi Arabia, and the Gulf states, can no longer carry devices larger than a phone. Officials say it is not a response to any specific threat. The Department of Homeland Security is giving airports 4 days to comply with the directive, which as of now has no end date. A follow-up on the shooting death of a woman at a Punta Gorda Citizens Training Academy. In August, Punta Gorda police officer Lee Cole accidentally shot and killed Mary Knowlton. Cole has been fired and is facing a charge of manslaughter. Police Chief Tom Lewis is also charged with culpable negligence and is on administrative leave. Now, in a statement, the Florida Chiefs of Police Association says, quote, "We are closely monitoring the charges filed against Chief Tom Lewis in relation to this tragic accident. We are deeply concerned as to the implications this case could have for law enforcement leaders across the nation." A former justice on Florida's Supreme Court is jumping into the fray over Governor Rick Scott's decision to remove the Orlando State Attorney from Markeith Lloyd's case. State Attorney Aramis Ayala filed a petition yesterday saying the governor is undermining the justice system. She also says Scott doesn't have the authority to do so. Recently retired Justice James Perry is taking her side.
The governor is basically disagreed with the discretion given to the state attorney. And I don't see how you can disagree with somebody's discretion by removing them.
Another hearing has been set for next week. The judge will hear from Lloyd, who is representing himself, Ayala, as well as the special prosecutor, Governor Rick Scott, assigned to the case. Now to Tallahassee, where legislation to crack down on drunk drivers is making headway. The measure would expand the use of ignition interlock devices, which require drivers to take a breathalyzer test before their car will start. Under this new bill, courts could offer the devices to first-time DUI offenders if they don't reoffend for 6 months. The DUI offense would be sealed from their record. Interlock devices stopped 8,900 drunk driving attempts in Florida last year. Meanwhile, a bill to cut tax credits for insurance companies is also advancing. The measure eliminates premium tax credits for insurers while lowering commercial lease taxes on businesses. Senate President Joe Negron says the legislation will help consumers, but lobbyists for the insurance industry say it will cost jobs and hike premiums.
Even the business owners that get a little break on their rent are going to pay higher insurance rates. But old Joe Lunchbucket going to pay more for his auto insurance, more for his health insurance, more for his property insurance, so that the business gets a 1% cut in the sales tax.
Eliminating the insurance industry tax credit would generate more than $450 million in revenue next fiscal year. The bill's sponsor calls the arguments from lobbyists baloney. That's all the time we have for this evening. I'm Alan Cohn. Thanks for joining us. Have a great night.